When we talk about rules and regulations, it's best to be as specific as we can so as to avoid confusion. But here's something that is for sure to confuse you. The United Nations has just released a plan that aims to criminalize spreading misinformation. So how do they define misinformation? I mean, that's the hard part, right? Now, to make matters worse, social media platforms like Facebook are already involved with this plan. And if the past has shown us what the future can lead to, it ain't looking good. Just take a look at the latest Twitter files where right-leaning accounts were tagged as Russian bots. These are actual Americans who were tagged as Russian. How the freak did this even happen? I mean, they don't really need much evidence to deem anything as Russian misinformation. And if that could happen to us, imagine what can happen when the UN decides that what we posted was misinformation. This is incredibly disturbing, and I want you guys to watch all the way through and share this video with your friends and loved ones. We need to spread this information to everyone. You can help us by dropping a like for the video and subscribing for your daily dose of the truth. We certainly need a lot of that these days. All right, guys. Also, if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There is a link for your free home warranty quote in the description of this video. It only takes like 15 seconds. All right, guys. Is it bad to seek the truth? Serious question. Is it really such a bad thing that people want to be informed of what's really going on around them? It's not necessarily the easiest thing to accept, but the truth will always be better than lies, right? Now, here's a question, if I may. Why is it that whenever misinformation is discussed, it's thrown at the people, like it's our fault, or it's thrown to Russia? You guys know about the Twitter Files 15? Let me read you an email from Yoel Roth, former head of trust and safety at Twitter. This is what he said, quote, "Hey, redacted, unlike hashtag release the memo, this one is primarily being driven by data from Hamilton 68, end quote. Who or what is Hamilton 68? We'll talk about that further in just a little bit, but let's continue. He says, quote, "I'll do another sweep for spam shortly, but as of yesterday, this looked like the right-leaning hashtag about the shutdown, which only got the label of Russian because the Hamilton dashboard falsely accuses a bunch of legitimate right-leaning accounts of being Russian bots," end quote. What is Hamilton 68? Well, it's a left-wing think tank that alleged that they could track Russian online activity, but just like what Roth said, they were merely tagging right-leaning accounts as Russian bots.
All right, listen up. Our next guest has spent the past several months reporting on one of the most significant stories of our lifetime, in my view, the Twitter files. He was selected by new Twitter CEO Elon Musk as one of the reporters to unravel the tangled web of collusion between the big tech giant and big government collaborators. Together, these entities work behind the scenes to censor conservative points of view and reinforce the dogma of democratic policies. That's not my opinion. That is now the fact. Here with us now is the very reporter that did all that, and this is not an easy job, Matt Taibbi. He's one of the few independent investigative journalists left in this country, the founder and editor and chief of the newly minted Substack Racket. Matt, last week we were going to do this, but you were called to go out and get another Twitter file release. What did you find?
So in the early Trump years, there was an organization called Hamilton 68 that was the source of probably hundreds of news stories over the course of a period of years that was allegedly tracking Russian bots. Their secret sauce was a list of 600 accounts they said were linked to Russian influence. Well, in the Twitter files, we found the list. And the list, let's just say, is mostly bereft of Russians, but is full of real Americans. And what they basically did is a fraud. They took ordinary conversations of ordinary conservatives mostly, and essentially just called it Russian influenced.
Now, in a prior email that I really don't think I can show you guys because I'll probably get suppressed and possibly demonetized, Roth even said that they needed to call out the BS on this. He even went as far as to say that he wanted to push back publicly, but was told not to do it because it would be unwise to push back on the Alliance for Securing Democracy, or the ASD. The dashboard in question was headed by a former FBI counterintelligence official who is now a contributor of MSNBC, Clint Watts. Wait, he's part of the FBI? And he's telling social media platforms what is or what isn't Russian propaganda? Yeah, that's not a good idea based on their track record with the Twitter files. For years, news outlets cited Hamilton 68 regarding Russian bots, believing the reports to be completely factual. It was also where news outlets got the idea that Russian bots pushed different hashtags like hashtag Fire McMaster, hashtag Schumer shutdown, down, hashtag walk away, hashtag release the memo, hashtag Alabama Senate race, and hashtag Parkland shooting. Now, according to Matt Taibbi, quote, in layman's terms, the Hamilton 68 barely had any Russians. In fact, apart from a few RT accounts, it's mostly full of ordinary Americans, Canadians, and British. It was a scam. Instead of tracking how Russians influenced American attitudes, Hamilton 68 simply collected a handful of mostly real, mostly American accounts and described their organic conversations as Russian scheming, end quote. And Roth, who has already made us fully aware that he is a Democratic partisan, even said during a 2018 email exchange that, quote, real people need to know they've been unilaterally labeled Russian stooges without evidence or recourse. My recommendation at this stage is an ultimatum. You release the list or we do, end quote. Even this was too much for him. To his credit, he has pushed back when things got way too far with these people. And now we're being told that the United Nations is planning to criminalize misinformation that causes social disorder and hatred. Okay, wait a minute. How do they define misinformation? That term itself is so vague. And hey, if that's the case, will the people who were behind Hamilton 68 be held accountable? They were found to have lied about saying which accounts were Russian bots. Wouldn't it be appropriate that they be charged? I mean, even the government has been found to have colluded with social media platforms to lie to the American people. What are they worried about us for? Like I said, we're just looking for the truth, and we're not being provided the opportunities to do so as we're being bombarded with misinformation. Kind of like how they're looking at the economy these days. We're being told that things are great. American consumers have so much more money now, but we know this is the opposite of what's actually happening to us. More households are carrying credit card debt, and even those who are already on government benefits like Social Security, SSI, SSDI, they're applying for SNAP and EBT benefits because they just can't handle the current expenses anymore. Now, is this considered misinformation? But let's go back to what the UN wants to accomplish. Now, if we look at it from afar, it seems justified. Now, one part of the draft, Article 26, it states that countries shall adopt such legislative and other measures as are necessary to establish an office under its domestic law, a call issued by means of information and communication technologies for subversive or armed activities directed toward the violent overthrow of the regime of another state. End quote. Now, I find this to be unbelievably vague, but hear me out. Would somebody posting the impeachment of a president be considered under this article? Some people may not call out for violence and merely voice out their frustration online. Would that be considered a criminal offense? Now, here's something that really just boggled my mind. In Article 29 of the draft, it focuses on terrorism-related offenses, calling on countries to criminalize commissioning, inciting, or recruiting terrorism, which it defines as spreading of strife, sedition, hatred, or racism, end quote. Strife? Being angry is now a terrorism-related offense? Seriously, like basic human emotion? So let me get this straight. If somebody posted facts, the truth about whatever's happening to us, and that post in turn makes the people angry, whoever posted it is now a terrorist because they wanted to spread the truth? It's really hard to assess everything because it's just so vague to begin with, but you guys know where I'm coming from, right? I mean, I feel like this is a covert way of eliminating freedom of speech. This is the kind of stuff that could be used to target political enemies, even be used by groups like the World Economic Forum to ultimately further push their agenda. You guys tell me, is this terrifying or is this exactly what the free world needs? Without reading the comments, I know what a lot of us need, and that is an improved cash flow. Now, with all these different problems, it's really hard to ignore just how tough it is to afford everything these days. It really doesn't matter if you're shopping in Walmart, Home Depot, Target, Costco. Matter of fact, I made a Costco run earlier today. It was a madhouse in there. The prices of goods have shot up and they're not going down anytime soon. But what can we do, right? Well, if the prices won't go down, maybe we should focus on our money, increasing how much money we make. Now, of course, there's wise investments to be made in the stock market, even in real estate. You could create side hustles or small businesses that could possibly net you multiple streams of income. Or if you're already making decent money, but you're kind of confused in terms of, where everything's going, maybe you need a helping hand with budgeting. I'm telling you guys, the path to financial freedom is not impossible. But if you'd like to discuss more and learn more, feel free to join us over in the Patreon community. There is a link in the description down below. But before I go, guys, please don't forget to smash the like button for the video and subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you guys watching. As always, be kind to one another, and I'll see you on the next one.